like to call the Monday, May 13th, 2024 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ingersoll? Here. Commissioner Howe? Commissioner Stokenberry? Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Sanderson?
Here.
Commissioner Henning?
Here.
Commissioner Graham? Commissioner Rohr?
Present.
Chairperson Craddock?
Present. Thank you and welcome everyone this evening and those watching from home. Tonight's agenda consists of item 1A, the minutes from the April 22, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Items 2, 3, and 5, rezoning, plan development concept plan, and preliminary plat for Tommy's Express Car Wash. Items 4, 6, and 7, general development concept plan, final plat and site design review for FICA FRDC. Items 8, alternative master sign plan for Stairway Cannabis. Items 9, other business. And items 10. At this time, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda for the approval of the April 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Henning. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I have a second from Commissioner Sanderson. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. I will open the public hearing for agenda items 2, 3, and 5, rezoning RZ-03-24-9093, plan development concept plan PDC-03-24-9095, and preliminary plat PP-03-24-09094 for Tommy's Express Car Wash. I will now ask for exhibits from our city attorney, John Mullane.
Staff admits exhibits 1 through 8 as shown under both items 2 and 3 on the agenda.
Thank you. All those who wish to speak, please stand and be sworn in as a group. That includes the staff, the applicant, and any of the public. All those who wish to be sworn in, please stand as a group. That includes the staff and the public, and the applicant as well.
I do.
At this time, I will ask for the staff's presentation. Mr. Malone.
Thank you, Chair. Mike Mallon, on behalf of the city, 903 West Main Street, and I have been sworn in. Tonight's first agenda items are requests for Tommy's Express Car Wash, a rezoning, plan development concept plan, and preliminary plat for proposed tonal car wash located at 509 Northwest 7 Highway. The property is highlighted here in the black and white hatched outline. The site is currently vacant except for a vacant building. It was originally developed as a Hardee's drive-through restaurant and most recently was a U.S. Fleet auto leasing and sales business. Property is currently zoned general business. The red outline here, or red properties surrounding it, show that properties to the north and south are also zoned general business. Property immediately to the west is zoned service office, and a very small portion of the property to the southwest is zoned SF7, single family 7. However, as you can see here, that property is improperly zoned. It's a legal non-conforming zoning, and it is developed with a bank, drive-through bank. On the north side is also a drive-through bank ATM. So the request before you this evening is for a rezoning from of the current designation of GB general business to PD or planned development commercial. The PD zoning is being requested in order to rezone the property to allow for all of the land uses that are currently allowed in the general business land use, its current existing zoning classification, and then adding in just the car wash land use. Currently, car wash land uses are allowed in the regional commercial zoning district, which is a more intense zoning district and require a conditional use permit. So rather than proposing to rezone the property to regional commercial and therefore allow all of the different land uses that would be allowed in the regional commercial zoning district, the applicant has proposed a planned development which limits those land uses to the currently allowed general business zoning and then just adding in car wash. The second request is for an accompanying PD concept plan, plan development concept plan, as well as the planned PD standards, which will govern the development of the property when the code does not allow for certain items. So certain modifications are being requested as part of this PD concept plan, which I will outline here for you in a moment. So the development is for a tunnel car wash. The site is approximately 3/4 of an acre. There are 2 proposed accesses into the site onto 7 Highway, a right-in only on the north side and a right-in, right-out on the south side. These there are currently 2 existing access points. These would be modified to allow for this site plan. Customers would enter through the north side, go through the car wash, come back out on the south side, and then also on the south side are parking spaces for vacuums on both the north and south side of that southern drive aisle. There will be a 5-foot ADA sidewalk installed along 7 Highway. The proposed land use again is car wash, which is only allowed currently in the regional commercial and light industrial zoning districts in the city with a conditional use permit. So that is why the request for the PD zoning and the PD concept plan with some modifications. The building type is pad site. One of the requests is to decrease the side setback along the north property line from 10 feet to 3 feet. There is a canopy on this section or this portion of the building which is attached to the building. Because it is attached, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the drawing. Because it is attached, it is required to meet the building setbacks for that. So this canopy here, because it is attached, it's required to meet the setbacks of the building. If it were to be detached and not connected to the building, then the side setback would be 3 feet or 2.5 feet from that northern property line. Because it is attached, the applicant is requesting a deviation from the required 10-foot setback to 3 feet. Also, along the building elevations for the architecture, the front elevation, this is the, let me see here, zoom out, apologize, these drawings are a little big. So this is the elevation that would face the entrance, so this would be the west elevation. This would be the east elevation. This would be the south elevation, and this is the north elevation. The east elevation is required to have a certain amount of transparency per the building type standards, and they're requesting to not meet those transparency requirements. Transparency is window openings that you might see on a pad restaurant site or something to allow natural light into the building. Because this use really doesn't lend itself to that because of the mechanics of the car wash, they're asking for to not have to follow that transparency and primary entrance requirements because of the nature of the business. Parking on the site, parking requirements have been met. 6 stacking spaces from the entrance are required. Per the car wash land use, there are no actual parking space requirements. However, there are over 20 parking spaces being provided for the vacuums and the employees. Pedestrian access has been met. Bike parking will be reviewed at the PD final plan, site plan design review stage. A conceptual landscape plan has been provided, and there are a few deviations in the PD being requested as part of this as well. There's a request to waive the privacy fence requirement along the western or the southwest portion of the site, which is adjacent to that single-family zoning that I pointed out earlier, which staff believes should not be zoned single-family 7, and it is utilized for commercial purposes for that bank drive-through. And because of the similar nature of the land uses, if that were to be zoned general business like the bank to the south is, there would be no fence required. So it would just be that minor section of single-family zoning that requires a fence. So they're asking not to have to put that fence in. Another request is to reduce the required buffer width due to the size of the site and proposed layout. The buffer on the west side, so over here, adjacent to the office building that was zoned service office, is supposed to be 7 feet wide, and they're requesting to decrease it to 5 feet. The buffer on the east property line, so the property line is set quite a bit back from the actual curb line of 7 Highway. But the buffer width should be 15 feet per the code, and they're requesting to decrease that to 4.5 feet to accommodate the drive aisles. And the buffer on that southwest portion where that fence would be, because it's typically commercial zoning up against single-family 7 zoning, should be 25 feet. But again, that land use isn't single-family homes. It's actually a bank again, and so they're requesting to decrease that to 2.5 feet wide. Staff does support these requests because the site currently doesn't have any buffering as it sits from its development as Hardee's to the development of the used car lot to where it sits today. Staff does believe that these reductions in buffers are an improvement over what is out there currently and what could be or would be required if another restaurant or another general business allowed land use were to just move into that property. There would be no requirements for buffering to be put into the property, and so staff believes that those modifications are justified and supportable because of the overall improvement of the site and the redevelopment of the site. If all of the setbacks were put onto the property, it would significantly reduce the building envelope and parking area, which would make this property very difficult to develop. And so in reviewing this as more of a redevelopment project, staff supports some of these reductions in the buffer widths and landscaping. Though will be reviewed more at the time of site plan design review and final plan. Reductions in buffer widths are usually a trade-off that staff works with the applicants to provide a thicker buffer in terms of landscape materials. And so staff will work with the applicant to do that on the west, southwest, and as appropriate on the east property lines. The building itself is approximately 4,500 square feet and is comprised of metal panels, architectural metal panels, and concrete masonry unit blocks. The color palette includes grays, red, and white. Has kind of a retro, futuristic, modern style, and will be reviewed further at the site plan design review final plan, but these are the conceptual renderings. Outdoor lighting will be required to comply with city code requirements and would be reviewed at the next stages of the PD final plan. The final request is for approval of a preliminary plat for one lot. Because the property has never been platted before, it is required to be platted in order to be developed, to be torn down and redeveloped. So there's a preliminary plat for the lot 1 of this. Staff has reviewed the rezoning request under the 9 criteria included in the staff report, finds that the request to rezone the property from general business to PD commercial is in accordance with the comprehensive plan for the 7 Highway corridor. Staff further finds that the proposed zoning is appropriate for the site since it is on an arterial street and there are other auto-dominant land uses in the corridor, in particular the 2 drive-throughs on the north side and on the south side, and drive-through restaurants up and down 7 Highway in this area. Approval of this rezoning application could encourage further redevelopment of vacant properties or underutilized properties along 7 Highway, and therefore staff recommends approval of the rezoning to PD commercial. Staff reviewed the PD concept plan under the 7 review criteria in the staff report, feels that the development will not have an adverse impact on the surrounding properties, that even though the buffer reductions being requested as part of the PD do reduce those. Those can be offset by landscape material, and that the setbacks are supportable as part of a redevelopment effort on this property. The city has the city only has 3 other automatic tunnel car washes throughout the city. And I believe the applicant could speak to this a little bit more about their presentation, about the national averages of how many car washes per capita of their style car wash are typically found in major metropolitan areas. But this new car wash will potentially help provide additional services for the residents, additional retail options, car wash options for residents and businesses within the city. Even though it is a modification in certain areas, staff believes that this is a significant investment on a otherwise vacant and underutilized parcel. And then as such, staff recommends approval of the PD concept plan with those reductions. Staff also recommends approval of the preliminary plat with 5 conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mallon. Are there any questions from the staff, from the commission, for the staff? Mr. Mallon, I'd like to know, were there any opposition letters that came in against this project?
Staff did not receive any opposition letters or emails. I am not aware of any speaker appearance forms for this evening, and I don't know how many letters we had returned.
And what are the hours for this business?
I do not know the answer to that. The applicant would be able to provide that.
Okay, and the other thing, was there a traffic study done for this project? I know on the weekend, 7 Highway gets pretty busy. Just curious to know if there was a traffic study done.
A traffic study was done and submitted to MoDOT, Jim, or was it a traffic memo provided?
I'm not aware of one being submitted to MoDOT yet, but one is still required.
Okay, so one has not been submitted yet to MoDOT, so I'm trying to remember the process on this. The plans have been submitted to MoDOT, and MoDOT is, one of their concerns was the 2 existing accesses and wanting to convert or combine those into one. But then in talking with the developer and MoDOT, the limitation on the movements to ride in only on the north and ride in, ride out on the south, I believe has appeased MoDOT's concerns. But that is something that staff could work out down the road at the PD final plan.
Now, I believe in some areas, we do have issues with the traffic in terms of that, so it'd be nice to have some type of traffic study.
Understood. I think the applicant could probably provide more information about the traffic and their numbers, especially as compared to what the currently allowed zoning of a drive-through restaurant would allow and how those would compare.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and speak?
I have one question.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry.
What is towards the north side, what is the 3 rectangles and 1 square with the circle inside of them? What do those represent?
I would let the applicant do that. I believe those are underground.
Okay.
Have something to do with the infrastructure underground for the car wash.
Couldn't discern.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would the applicant like to come forward and speak at this time?
Is it this one? Yep, that's great.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
Thank you, sir.
My name is Rob Heisey, Tommy's Express, 800 East 101st Terrace, Suite 120, Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm one of the co-owners of Tommy's Express, and we are the franchisee and owner-operator of Tommy's Express in Kansas City, Manhattan, Kansas, and Northwest Arkansas. We have members of our team here too to also answer technical questions if need be. So as I said, we're the local owner-operator and franchise partner for Tommy's Express. We currently have 6 operating locations with 2 under development. Our organization is a vertically integrated real estate development and construction company. Our construction company is Meyer Brothers Building Company. It's a single source solution from concept to completion for our projects. As an investor and developer and service provider in Blue Springs area, we've been active for many years. Notable projects that we've been involved in your community include Harmon Industries, Lunar Bowl, Blue Springs Convention Center, Benton House, Dervet, and many other tenant improvement and remodel projects. Community involvement and commitment are a very important part of our organization. The communities that we invest in and operate, we get involved with the youth sports, activity fundraisers, Chamber of Commerce, school district, in a lot of different variety of ways. We meet with them, try to find out where there's opportunities for us to partner with them and give back to the community in other ways like that. We also have college scholarship programs for some of our employees, as well as probably about 6 to 8 full-time employees and about 5 to 7 part-time employees will be employed at this location. Some local sites. This is a location in Olathe, Kansas that we opened a couple weeks ago. Efficiency and service delivery is very important to us. A lot of high focus on our people to provide a first-in-class service. So we try to give them as many tools and as we can in order for them to do their job. Tommy's Express is a membership model. You don't have to be a member to use Tommy's. You can just go on a one-off basis. We have 4 levels of membership at Tommy's. Other things that differentiate us a little bit from some of the other car washes that are the modernized tunnel car washes are camera recognition. When you pull up to the gate, cameras recognize your license plate, the gate goes up and you continue to go through. Your window doesn't have to come down. It just creates a very nice, easy, efficient operation that way. When you go around the corner, when you come into the tunnel, it's not a chain and roller system, it's a conveyor belt. Advantage of that is you can get large, wide vehicles, even like a dually pickup can go through our car wash. And then it also is safer and easier on the vehicle and makes people feel more comfortable loading themselves onto the car wash to clean their car. My very first location was in Overland Park. It was actually the first location in the entire franchise system in the country. You can see on the right, that's entering into the tunnel. It gives you a pretty good view of the way that the conveyor belt system works. And then last year we were honored to receive an award for Landscape Excellence. That's a location that is now 8 years old. At the time was 7 years old. Just an idea of how we keep our facilities. Our facilities are first in class, as well as our things like our landscape. And here's a couple images of a location that we opened about 1.5 years ago in Olathe. And before I came up, I was taking down some notes on some questions that were asked. I know that one of the questions was regarding traffic. Our civil engineer did have a conversation with MoDOT. We sent him the site plan. We talked to him about it. And at this time, they have not required a traffic study. And so if MoDOT came back to us and said we need to do a traffic study, that's something that we'd be receptive to clearly doing. But given the access points and it's right in, right out, they didn't see the need. So we're waiting to get that in writing from them. Help remind me of a couple of their questions before I had to really. Hours of operation. Right now we're open till 8 o'clock seasonally. 8's the latest we're open, and then also open till 7, kind of in the wintertime hours. I think there was one more question that I didn't write down.
Boxes with the circles in them and the drive aisle on the north side.
Boxes in the circle that drive on the north side. Those are the tanks, aren't they? Yeah, it's the sanitary tanks.
Okay.
So that's where, once the water goes through the system, that's where it baffles and gets cleaned before it goes into the sanitary system. And that's all I have for my presentation this evening, a little bit about us. Happy to answer questions about not only ourselves, but our car wash operation.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
Chair.
Commissioner?
So what is the distance from Artie Mize Road to the first drive-in? And then the distance also, of course, to the next one from Artie Mize Road?
That's a good question. So what's the other distance from Artie Mize up here down to here?
We don't have that measurement with us right now.
You can look on that.
That's fine. If you don't have it.
That's 50 feet.
I can't tell.
So it looks to be about 100 feet
To which one?
to the
To
north.
the north property line.
Is that the first entrance or the second entrance?
The first, if you're heading south.
It's the only way you're gonna be hitting.
And then the other one is probably an additional, whatever that site plan is.
Okay.
down.
Okay, so, I mean, in your notes, it says a traffic impact study will need to be completed and submitted to the city of MoDOT for review. So I guess I'm not sure I understand the conversation that was going on before.
I can provide a little bit more feedback on that. Sorry, I was not thinking clearly, and Public Works can back me up on this. Because it is 7 highway
Right.
and MoDOT controls the access, MoDOT determines whether or not a traffic study is needed or not. And
Right.
so far, they have determined that a traffic study is not needed based upon the access points and the restriction of the movements on those access points.
Okay. I'll be surprised since I interacted with MoDOT, but maybe I won't be surprised.
If MoDOT comes back and says they want to consolidate these access points into one,
Right.
then if this were to be approved tonight or recommended for approval and ultimately approved by the or the city council for the PD concept plan and preliminary plat, then those documents would need to be subsequently modified to reflect those MoDOT improvements before any construction could begin. And depending upon the scale of those changes required, may need to go back through planning commission and or city council for approval.
Yeah, I mean, the businesses that were there before, there were both low traffic going in and low traffic going out. So I can see it working pretty good, but people making a right turn on Artie Mize and then, I mean, on the west side and then on the other side, and then that light turns green, and then all at once someone's gonna slow down to turn in there, yeah, I don't know, I mean, I just think it's a terrible location. I mean, you're gonna have a ton of traffic going in and out of there. There's a car wash up north, and I'm sure you guys know about that, but, yeah, that traffic's gonna be loaded going in and going out. So anyone, once that light turns green and the traffic going out, and you all know, people don't have a lot of patience, so they're gonna try to get out as fast as they can. So that's my only comment. I mean, I'd be surprised, but maybe not. Maybe MoDOT doesn't require traffic studies anymore or stuff like that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, Chair.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Yeah, so Mr. Mallon commented that you might have some feedback or maybe some information on demand, and so Commissioner Moore referenced other car washes of similar type. Can you speak to that on what your thoughts are on what a city of our size needs from this type of product and why you think it's going to be beneficial or needed in addition to what we've got today?
Right, that's a very good question. There's still a lot of data being circulated across the country as it relates to what the correct answer to that is or what it needs to be. And it's kind of been a lot of different places. But a few things that we have seen is municipalities have done 1 per 7,000 in population. Kind of had a limit on car washes that way. I'm not saying that's an industry standard, I'm just saying that's something that our municipality has done. But we think it's probably one car wash for every 10 to 12,000 people is generally the way that we would look at that. There was a study done by Boston Consulting Group in 2019. At that time, there were 14,000 modernized tunnel car washes in the country. And their results from that study were that number would double in the next 15 years. It would probably take north of 15 years to build out that across the country. So there's a couple of things that we've been able to find, but I don't have a better answer than that. So.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Chair.
And then I think on the traffic side, so on a busy day, for example, peak day after, it snows and then it's 50 degrees and it's sunny and everybody wants to clean the salt off their car. If for some reason we weren't able to process vehicles, and we're able to process vehicles at about 200 plus cars an hour with that conveyor system that we have and the ingress and egress. And so if we found that was for some reason backing up, which the other 6 locations we have not gone back up into either one of our private drives or into a public street, at our other locations. So I think that we would probably be able to handle it, but in the event something happened, we couldn't. We have staff that would direct traffic and just would stop or cone off traffic from coming in if we couldn't do that to keep traffic from going on to K, or not K7, Missouri 7.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Well, I find it interesting that you mentioned that you could put somebody out there to direct traffic. You couldn't do that on 7 Highway if it impacted that. And MoDOT has given us their suggestions on how they feel about certain intersections, and to this day, we still have problems with that from what the decisions they've made. And 7 Highway is a busy place, especially where you're talking about building your business, starting your business rather. That on the weekends, I know that gets really busy in that area, unlike some of the other areas. I think it's a great project. I agree with staff on what you're trying to do, and I think it would be great for the city. But I would like to see MoDOT come forward with their decision and see what kind of traffic study you come up with, because time and time again, we have these developments occur, and then we have traffic congestion problems, and somewhere down the line we have to fix them. So why not take care of it before the development starts? So I think it is a big issue concerning traffic. So for me, that's a major issue. Other than that, I think your business, what you're trying to put up here, sounds like a great story.
Thank you. We do have communications into MoDOT right now to get that in writing from them, and as soon as we have that, we'll pass it on to staff.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to the project? The public comments section of the public hearing is over. Is there any further discussion from the staff?
No, we'd be happy to answer any questions that council or that the commission may have.
Yeah, Chair, I've got one more question. Mr. Mallon, you talked about the landscaping, and so let me make a comment real quick. So the decreased buffers, I think, is one of my, along with the traffic, but the decreased buffers is probably one of my main concerns. But I'm definitely hearing what you're saying on if another business come in and it's general business, then they've kind of got a little bit of free reign there, right? So with that in mind, I guess, tell me what the next process would be for submission of that, and how the approval process would work for the landscaping.
So if the concept plan, so normally the PD process is a two-step process. You have the concept plan, which generally lays out the site that accompanies the PD zoning request. If that is approved by the city council, then the next step is a PD final plan and site plan design review, which is a very detailed look at site lighting, landscaping, and building architecture, so the materials, the light pole heights, and a very specific landscape plan in terms of tree count, tree species, where they're located, and things of that nature. And so in areas where there's a reduced buffer in terms of width, there's the ability to put more actually tree units, maybe spaced closer together, and a taller tree unit or something of that to help create a similar buffer effect. So less width of landscape area, but potentially taller or more intense landscape material. So staff would be looking to do that on this site, in particular along the north property line, the west property line, the south property line, and to what degree it could be done on the east property line up against 7 Highway. The site is pretty tight, but staff has been working with the applicant to put in some additional landscaping here, trees, but especially for the cars that are pulling out, headed east out of that car wash, something a little bit taller to help block some of those headlights from having that negative impact on the 7 Highway, something that staff likes to see. And the code requires for drive-through restaurants, gas stations, things of that nature. So The next step in the process would be, if this were to be approved, to have a PD final plan, site plan design review come through that would need to come back before the planning commission to look at those specific items related to site lighting, building architecture, and a detailed landscape plan.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from the applicant? Anything else you would like to say?
I think we're okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from the commission? I will close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion on the rezoning.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve RZ 03249093 for Tommy's Express Car Wash. And I believe there was 3 staff conditions.
I have a motion from Commissioner Henning. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Smith. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Henning,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Nay.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
Nay. This motion carried, and this item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, May 20th, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the Plan Development Concept Plan.
Mr. Chairman,
I have a motion for Commissioner Henning.
is that the preliminary plat, this next?
Yes, it's a Plan Development Concept.
Move to approve PP-03-24-9094.
We're on the
PDC.
concept plan, sorry.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I think I
Henning.
answered right. PDC 03249095. And was there 5 staff conditions on that one, without scrolling all the way down?
2 staff conditions.
All right, let me pull it up real quick. Do you have it, Dave?
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second from Commissioner Smith. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Henning,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Nay.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
Nay. That motion,
Commissioner Smith, I'm so sorry.
that's
Aye.
okay.
Aye, okay. Chairperson Craddock.
Nay. That motion carried with 2 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, May 20th, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve preliminary plat. Where'd it go? I'm on the wrong page. PP 03249094 for Tommy's Car Wash.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second from Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried with 5 staff conditions. I will now open the public hearing for agenda items 4, 6, and 7, General Development Plan GDP-04-24-9098, Final Plat PF-04-24-9099, and Site Plan Design Review SPDR-04-24-9100 for FICA FRDC. I will now ask for the exhibits from our City Attorney, John Mullane.
Staff in this exhibits 1 through 8 as shown on item 4 on the agenda.
Thank you. All those who wish to speak, please stand and be sworn in as a group that includes the staff, the applicant, and the public. Thank you. At this time, I will ask for staff's presentation. Mr. Mallon.
Thank you, Chair. Mike Mallon, 903 West Main Street on behalf of the city, and I have been sworn. I would also like to point out that our Development Review Manager, Dave McCumber, just passed around a document for you that should have been included in your packet this evening, but was inadvertently left out. It is the final plat drawing. So the staff report and conditions, everything references that drawing. It just was inadvertently left out of the packet. I will bring that up and reference it in my presentation, so I would like that entered into the record as well this evening. So before you this evening is the Fike Research and Development Project up on 7 Highway near Argo Road. A request for a general development plan, site plan design review, and final plat. The proposed land use is a testing facility in, at 2951 Northwest 7 Highway. The property includes one parcel and is on approximately 7.94 acres. The property is zoned heavy industrial. All of the surrounding properties to the south, north, and east are zoned heavy industrial. The city boundary is highlighted in the red dashed line. The properties across the street to the east or to the west and further to the north are outside of these city limits. The proposed Fike FRDC is an industrial land use, a general industrial building type, which is only allowed by right in the HI or heavy industrial zoning district. The general development plan and site plan design review would allow for the construction of an approximately 42,000 square foot testing facility. There is one proposed access point, which is an existing curb cut that is on the property. As you may recall for some of the planning commissioners, this property was previously had approvals for what was called All About the Outdoors, which was a RV storage and recreational storage facility for boats and RV campers. Fike has purchased that property from the previous developer and is proposing this development. Again, one access into this property from State Highway 7. There will be a sidewalk constructed along 7 Highway. The general industrial building type standards would govern the development of the site. The proposed property complies with all of those standards, including setbacks, building height, building coverage. The parking requirements have been met. The general industrial or industry general land use requires parking not to exceed 1 space per 1,000 square feet. The applicant has provided sufficient parking spaces in compliance with the UDC. 41 spaces, rounded up 42 spaces would be the maximum or would be the amount that they're required. They're proposing 46. The code does allow for land uses to exceed the maximum parking requirement by 125%. And so they would technically be allowed to go up to over 50 spaces, and they're proposing 46. Bike parking will be provided. Pedestrian access, again, there'll be a 5-foot sidewalk on 7 Highway and internal sidewalks throughout the site. A proposed landscape plan has been provided, conceptual landscape plan, which shows screening of the facility along 7 Highway and along the north property lines, north and northwest property lines. Access to the site is from 7 Highway. This is the primary research facility. Customer parking is out front, and then there is a accessory building out in the back, which will not be visible from 7 Highway. The two buildings total, again, are approximately 42,000 square feet. The main building includes height and color variations to break up the building. Overhead doors on north, south, and east sides of the building to have those shielded from 7 Highway view. Outdoor lighting will be reviewed with the building permit. Roof-mounted, ground-mounted equipment complying with screening requirements would be reviewed with the building permit. The final request is for a final plat, which again, stat was not included. However, this is the proposed final plat. It is a replat of the previously platted Falco Industrial Park subdivision plat. It's a replat of Lot 1 and Tract A. So Lot 1 will encompass this entire area here. The property is outside of the city sewer limits. There's no sanitary sewer available to the site, so it needs to be developed on septic. And so in order to build a septic field and the septic facility and the corresponding leach field and to comply with all of the setbacks. That's why the property has been reconfigured to accommodate that. Other utilities will be provided. Water would be provided by, I believe, the City of Independence, because the city does not have any water up here. So the applicant will need to work with the City of Independence to secure water for the site. The final plat for this does comply with all of the requirements in the UDC for platting in terms of lot frontage, lot size, and required easements. Staff reviewed the general development plan, site plan design review, and final plat under the criteria outlined in the UDC and outlined further in the staff report. Based upon these criteria, staff recommends approval of the general development plan with 1 condition, approval of the site plan design review with 6 conditions, and approval of the final plat with 4 conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mallon. Are there any questions from the commission for staff?
I forgot to go through the building architecture. I apologize.
Oh, sir.
This is a proposed rendering of the building. The east, so this would be the west side of the building, right up against 7 Highway, and the parking up against 7 Highway. And then the majority of the testing facility and the industrial component of the building would be towards the east, away from 7 Highway. The building elevations and materials do provide sufficient relief and colors and breakup to meet the UDC requirements for non-residential buildings and non-residential design standards. So, sorry, I forgot to add that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Are there any further questions for the staff from the commission? Mr. Mallon, were there any opposition letters that came in for this project?
I am not aware of any opposition letters or emails that staff have received. Typically, if we do get those, we include those in the packet. There were a few phone calls from residents, either surrounding the area who saw the signs on the property or may have noticed it posted in the paper and just asking questions about it. But there was no formal letters of opposition that staff received.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from the applicant?
Well, does the applicant, yeah, they haven't had a chance to present yet. I don't know if they would like to.
Would you like to come forward and present?
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
I have one for the city.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, can you go all the way back to the beginning to, it shows the aerial of the area? Yeah, right there. Can you zoom in that picture? So the nearest residence is what, right, the ones down below there?
The nearest neighborhood would be this neighborhood down here, yes, that is in the city limits of the City of Independence.
All right, so
I
it's
believe
right-
there are some other large estate lot houses here on the
Right.
east or the west side of 7 Highway.
Right, individuals, yeah. All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? Again, is there any further discussion from the commission? In that case, I will close the public hearing.
We need to,
Are there anybody in the audience that's for the project? Would you like to come forward and speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
John Sheehy, 25101 East Strode Road, Blue Springs, Mo.
What would you like to share with us today?
I'm just curious about a few things. I don't want to oppose or condone, but I own the next 3 residents that are west of the site, and then own the vacant property north of west of Argo. That's across the street. I'm concerned about that corner. Has always been a very bad corner. traffic-wise. There's accidents there all the time. This is this is kind of Blue Springs' north entrance to the city. You know, the school district has purchased ground for a third high school up there. I'm very concerned about anything that goes along that corner. I've been very disappointed with how that property has been left. I understand Fike are new owners, but the previous owners have left that property just like a tornado went off. The frontage there from Argo down to that site has just been cleared willy-nilly, stumps left, trash has been left. If I didn't mow my yard, I'd get a letter and somebody would come mow it for me, and then I'd get a bill for that. None of that, I don't see how any of that has happened. So I'm kind of concerned. I'd like to know how they're going to take care of the property. They're going to put a sidewalk in, but the sidewalk goes nowhere. The north end of the sidewalk will just dead end into you know, the frontage area, and to the south, there won't be a sidewalk there, I don't believe. Nobody's planned for that. One entrance into the site is, you know, I don't know a lot about development, but that's, I would believe the fire marshal would have a concern about that. Concerned about the noise. I know we're zoned heavy industrial. I'd like to know if this is going to be their new facility, or they're going to move their operation and there's going to be more blasting. If you live up in that area, all the blasting is a big concern. I may not be, my address is Blue Springs. My taxes go to Blue Springs, but technically I'm in Independence. But, you know, we sure hear the blasting all the time. And I'm happy for Fike to be our neighbor, but I'd like to understand exactly what we're getting into. So I'd like to know what's going to happen on the corner of Argo and 7 down to the proposed site, and you know, how is that going to be cleaned up? Because it's a absolute mess right now. The site plan shows landscaping going back on the area. Well, you can't even see where they're going to put in the holding pond for the sewer lagoon. You know, that won't even be able to be seen from 7 Highway. So the landscaping, in my opinion, needs to be done on 7 Highway. And you know, a sidewalk to nowhere doesn't do anybody any good. So I'd just like to get some answers to those questions, and I'm sure some other people would like to ask some other questions as well.
Thank you very kindly. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the project? Okay, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition of the project? Please state your name and address for the record.
David Patterson, 25001 East Road. And my main is not in opposition, but, you know, I also live there and hear the explosions from the testing going off. And my question is it going to be an increase in the noise pollution? And is there a limit to the decibels that they're allowed to do there? And that'd be all I would have.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition of the project? Before I refer back to the applicant, I have a question for the staff. Would you like to comment on the burn, the situation with the noise, and also things concerning the landscaping, the questions that citizens
Absolutely.
just asked?
So, because this is a final plat and a site plan design review, the applicant is only required to landscape adjacent to the portion that they're developing at this time and install sidewalks adjacent to 7 Highway for the portion that they're developing at this time. Fike did purchase all of the land from the southern end of the former Falco, All About the Outdoors property, all the way up to Argo Road. They just don't have development plans at this time for that property, and so therefore it's not being developed. And so a sidewalk in that area, in this area here, this is ridiculous. So the sidewalk and landscaping would be done in this area, and then if and when this portion up here, right at the southwest corner of Argo and 7 Highway, were to be redeveloped, or actually developed, then at that time, they would be required to landscape and put in a sidewalk along 7 Highway and likely Argo Road, depending upon the land use which were to go there. But since those aren't being proposed for development at this time, it's just the portion adjacent to the public right-of-way that they're required to landscape and put in the sidewalk. They are putting in additional landscaping to help screen the building and to provide the required landscape tree equivalents that they are needed under the code, and are doing that along what is kind of the north side of the building to help in the interim until that area is developed, to help soften the visual appearance of this. And so they're landscaping along that northern property line, and then also up here in the air in the additional landscaping for the leach field and detention pond area. So staff believes they are adequately landscaping the property, and while the sidewalk may be not connecting to anything at the time, the development code does require sidewalks to be installed at the time of development, and then future development would install the sidewalk to connect. And so it may be a non-connected sidewalk now, but should development happen again in the future, that sidewalk will be carried forward to the north. In terms of noise and how the property will be used, I think the applicant could provide a little bit more detail into that. It's staff's understanding that the noise should not increase. However, there are no noise requirements in the Unified Development Code that set a maximum decibel level or for daytime activities. And so noise violations are only after 10 o'clock at night and do not even have a specific decibel level in our code targeted towards them. It is left up to what is deemed unreasonably loud to a normal person, is how the code reads.
Do you think there should be a limit, a noise ordinance for that?
My opinion on that is not pertinent to today's case. There are no current noise limits in the code.
Okay,
today.
I understand. Could you also speak, Mr. Mallon, on the question about the sewage?
Yeah, so what is proposed is just to have a septic facility, as any large lot property in Jackson County would be allowed to have over 3 acres. And so it's a sewer facility, and then they have the leach field or seepage area for that septic tank, and then the required setbacks for that, I believe, are 25 or 30 feet to any property line. And so the proposed leach field is up to the north of the facility and does comply with all of those setbacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mallon. And now I would like to refer back to the applicant in terms of the question that staff didn't ask. Would you like to respond to the noise?
You have to come up.
The actual intent of this is to put the noise inside.
Oh yeah, you gotta get sworn in.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Raise your hand.
Jeremy Hull, Hallmark Construction. Hull, Hull. And the intent in this is to build build within the building rather than outside. Take some of they're upgrading the facility they have now. They're not adding any more employees. They're actually creating a second entrance for their global use, and it's well maintained testing within the building rather than outside the building. That's the purpose in this.
So it sounds like you're assuring the public that there won't be any noise after hours.
No, they're not even open after hours.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the commission at this time? Okay, I'm sorry, you have another question?
Could they speak to cleanup?
Could you come forward and
yes.
state your name again for us, please?
John Sheehy, 25101 East Strode Road, Blue Springs, Mo. I would just like to know what their plans are for the cleanup on the other lots that we're not talking about, that they purchased, because it's just a big pile. They're just huge piles of rubble and trees, and you know, they took out the old Civil War cemetery. I don't think they had anything to do with that, but you know, they've just left a mess. And maybe that's not Fike's doing, but somebody's got to clean it up. And it might look good from everybody else's house, but it doesn't look good from our homes.
I understand.
And then the other thing that I failed to mention earlier is the fencing that they are proposing is chain link razor wire. And I would like to see that. I know we're zoned heavy industrial, but I'd like to see something a little more copacetic to our north entrance of Blue Springs and what we're trying to accomplish with the rest of that ground there. The vacant ground across the road, I believe has some there's some ownership there that's part of this group, and I believe that will be slated for residential, and maybe that's why he's not here today. But I would think that he would want to have have a nice area across from him for the residential. And there's going to be a lot of residential to the north, and I just want something nice in there, and I believe Fike can do that. But I'd like to understand that now rather than, well, you're too late, down the road.
Well, thank you for your comments.
Mm.
So, Mr. Mallon, I'm gonna, before I defer back to the applicant, I'm gonna ask you the question, and maybe you can answer about the aesthetics this gentleman just inquired about and the razor fencing.
The proposed site plan here, if I could zoom in a little bit better, calls for a 6-foot vinyl fence, a 6-foot chain link fence with slats, and a 6-inch chain link fence. So the fence does not start, so there is no fence along 7 Highway. The fencing does not start until back here, approximately well over 100 feet back. So the fencing is the green line here, and then would travel along the northern property boundary, a different fence style in this location. And then again, I believe there's an existing fence along this property line here, and then there would be another fence built in here. So the fencing will actually be set back over 100 feet from the road and will sit behind all the landscaping that's being installed. And in terms of the undeveloped area left at the north side of the property, up in here right at the hard corner, there are no requirements to have that cut down or cleaned up in terms of trees until that's proposed for development. I'm sure that Fike would be willing to remove any of the concrete rubble. I can't speak for them, but to help clean up the site as part of the development process. And for the commissioner's reference, Fike did relocate that cemetery and relocated the remains of that cemetery to the Blue Spring Cemetery over on Cemetery Road in Walnut, and did so with the proper state permits. Actually, the previous property owner did a lot of the groundwork on doing that, and then the Fike Corporation had paid to have it relocated, new monument put up, and to have all of that relocated, and actually I believe had family members on site while that was taking place. And so that has been relocated, and so under the previous site plan, when it was mini storage, that was a condition before they could move forward from phase 1 to phase 2, was to have that cemetery relocated, and Fike has already done that.
Thank you, Mr. Mallon. Before we conclude, I'll ask the applicant again, would you like to insert anything here that we've just discussed?
Yes.
Could you come forward and state your name again, please?
Yep. The fence along 7 Highway,
This one here.
Jeremy Hallmark
Yeah.
Construction. The fence along, right there, that's a wrought iron fence. And on the other connecting side, that's a wrought iron fence. And that was Fike's request, to upgrade that because it is facing 7 Highway. The other, because it is kind of hidden and back away from the building, that is where we're requesting security fence that matches all the existing stuff that's there. And, we are going to be cleaning up that site and removing all that rubble in the short term. We already applied for the permit. Actually, guys were there last 3 days working, and we'll continue on. And then as far as lot 2, I wouldn't want to bring that in for this conversation, but 5 minutes after the meeting, I'd show you what our global plan is. Pretty much answered everything, didn't it? Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. I will now give the commission an opportunity to give the final comments before I close the hearing. No comments? In that case, I will close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion on the rezoning. I have a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
I will ask for a motion on the general development plan. I have a motion from Commissioner Rohr.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the General Development Plan GDP-04-24-9098, the Fike, Northwest Highway 7.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Standish. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Henning,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Ingersoll, Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
Aye. This motion carried with one staff condition. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, May 20th, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. Could I have a motion on the final plat?
Chair,
Commissioner Rohr.
I make a motion to approve the final plat, PF 04-24-9099, the Fike FRDC.
Could I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Sanderson. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Ingersoll,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Henning,
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
Aye. This motion carried with 5 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, May 20th, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the site plan review.
Chair,
Commissioner Rohr.
I make a motion to approve the site plan design review, SPDR-04-24-9100.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sanderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried with 4 staff conditions. The next item on the agenda is agenda item 8, Alternative Master Sign Plan, ASP-03-24-9092 for Stairway Cannabis. At this time, I will ask for staff's presentation. Mr. McCumber.
Dave McCumber, 903 West Main Street. All right. Before you this evening is a request for a master sign plan for a proposed mural located at 490 Southwest 7 Highway. The applicant, Jonathan Harper, representing Stairway Cannabis, submitted a planning application for a mural to be painted on the building's north facade. On April 4th, 2024, the Public Arts Commission met to review this application and voted unanimously to recommend approval. Staff, along with the Public Arts Commission, determined that the application has met requirements for murals as outlined in Chapter 501 of the Blue Springs Building and Construction Code. Staff recommends approval of the master sign plan with conditions, as outlined in the staff report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Would the applicant like to come forward and speak? Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? Any further discussion? I will now ask for a motion on the alternative master sign plan.
Mr. Chairman, I had a comment.
Commissioner Henning.
It's loud, it's colorful, and I like it. And it's different. And quite frankly, I think it's good for Blue Springs. So I will make the motion to approve. ASP-03-24-9092.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried with 3 staff conditions. On to other business. Does the staff have any business?
Yes, we'll go over the monthly report here. Let me scroll down to it. All right. So for April 2024, there was a slight increase in single-family detached permits over last year by an additional 3. A few extra of the miscellaneous permits, residential permits, and also an increase of total building permits for April 2024 over the previous year. It looks like we're also slightly above our year-to-date compared to last year as well for these permit types. Code enforcement. So we've had 144 total cases. Code enforcement ranging from public safety, public health and safety and welfare, to traffic, to sign codes, and also business and other occupation related cases.
Mr. McCumber, I have a question. Have any of these cases carried over from last year?
That's a potential. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we could find out and let you know.
Thank you.
Sometimes those cases do kind of linger a little longer than than you'd think. So that does happen from time to time, depending on the complexity of the case and how much response we get from whoever the ownership is or responsible party.
Thank you.
Let's see here. So it looks like code cases in general are up a little bit here in April. I would imagine that some of the tall grass probably has to play in that with as much rain as we've gotten in recent time. So that usually corresponds with this code cases. And then for planning activities, had quite a few projects that have come through and received approvals so far this year. Some of them related to the different residential proposals, developments that's come through Planning Commission and City Council. And then also a project out at Colonial Gardens for a concept plan as well. Some of the sign permit activity is about on par with where we were at last year, with similar types of permits being issued for April 2024 as compared to 23. And that is it. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. Okay, on the sign permits, how do I find out if a owner has a sign permit? Is it a quick email for me to find out that because we've got flags and all kind of signs going up that look very professional. So my question is, how do I find out without spending tons and tons of hours of who has a permit and who does not? Whether they're yard signs, the flags, or the tarps.
I believe you can utilize the city's CSS portal if you log in as a user, and you'll be able to pull up permits that have been issued on a given property, or you can call staff and we can give you that information.
Oh, I might do the call. Okay, I'll get with you that later.
Okay.
And I understand it's been raining a lot, but along 7 Highway, guys, is there any way we can just get some of that cut down? I mean, that just looks absolutely terrible along 7 Highway right now. That stuff's a foot tall right now. I understand it's been raining, and I don't know who owns all that, and I'm sure it's a lawn company that's supposed to be mowing. Dunkin' Donuts waited for I don't know how long, to finally someone got out there with a little push mower and just chopped it all down. Looked even worse. But yeah, anyway, that's just my opinion. It just somehow we need to keep those ownerships more accountable, I would think, to make Blue Springs look a little bit better. And that's the end of my complaints for tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any more comments from the commission? Do you have any other business? If there is no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sanderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Good night.